What's up, y'all? It's Tommy here with Everyday Finance. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk about how you can avoid paying interest on credit card debt. Okay, so if that's something that you're interested in, or maybe you have credit card debt and then you're going through the situation, then you'll definitely want to stay tuned. And before we jump into it, I did want to touch on a few facts. A lot of people don't realize how many people are strapped with credit card debt, right? This is not something that's, just on you or me, right? I think pretty much majority of America has gone through this situation. They said that households now have on average over $6,000 of credit card debt, closer to $6,270, okay? And they say they have estimated that it could take you 15 years to pay off that amount, that balance, if you were just paying around $100 a month. Okay, so $100 a month would take you 15 years to pay off $6,270. Okay, the reason being is because of the interest, right? This is some of the most, some of the worst debt because of how high the interest rates are, right? It could be anything from as low as 14%, but typically closer to 19%, and as high as even, I think it gets as high as 27 to 29%. Okay, so that's why I always try to recommend to people that you avoid credit card debt as much as possible. And that's why I try to teach people that you need credit cards to have a good credit score, but you don't want to be leveraging those credit cards to just buy frivolous things, right? If you're leveraging it to find other ways to create income or do things that will create you income in the future, then it makes a lot more sense. But you want to be very careful with credit card debt. Now, when it comes to actually techniques that you can use to be able to avoid paying interest on credit card debt, I'm really going to touch on a few different main ways. Okay, the first one's going to be the most obvious, and this is actually what I typically do, right? Is paying off your credit cards in full before the grace period. So I know that for a lot of people that sounds obvious, but you want to look at it more so from a business, the business side of it, right? Like for me, I've leveraged credit cards specifically for whenever I was trying to start a business, not at the start of the business, but as I'm trying to grow the business, I'll leverage credit cards to give me more time to pay off certain things, right? For example, you can use it as, you can almost kind of look at it as like a net 30 account, right? If you're familiar with that. Now, what that means is I could buy something, at the beginning of the month, and I wouldn't have to pay it off until the end of the month, right? So that could give me, for example, in 1 month, like a 30-day cushion to pay off something that I purchased. And as long as I paid it off by the end of the month, I'm not paying any sort of interest, right? The interest is going to be tacked on if you go past that grace period. So typically what I would do is when I have credit cards, I would leverage those credit cards for, let's say, for example, if I was running ads, I would leverage your credit cards to run those ads, like to pay for advertising. And on top of that, not only would I be getting rewards points by doing that, but what I would also be getting is I'd be able to get 30 days to make that payment. So if I'm running, for example, advertising to sell a product, let's say that you have an e-commerce store, right? And you're leveraging, you're using that credit card to be able to get sales, to do advertising so you can drive people to your store and have them purchase. Well, 30 days, especially if you have an online store, 30 days is plenty of time to get someone to come to your website and purchase, right? So that means that in theory, you could be leveraging your credit cards to create revenue, right? And you're not paying until you've already been paid. So the money that you spent to get the customer there, right? The money that you put on that credit card, once the customer pays you, you take a portion of the profits that you have and you use it to pay off the amount that you just spent on that credit card. So at that point, it makes it where it's sort of almost a game where you're able to grow your business on somebody else's dime. So I think that is where it can be really beneficial, okay? Now, again, that's why I always try to mention that you want to leverage your credit cards for leverage it for methods that are going to build you wealth in the long term, or at least give you income. You leverage it for things that are going to produce income for you. Okay, that's how you always want to look at it. Now, the second technique is going to be using balance transfers into new cards. Okay. Now, typically you can be able to find cards that'll have like 0 APR offers or things like that, even balance transfer offers, and they'll allow you to move the balance of whatever credit card you have, whatever balances you have on a credit card, be able to shift it over to a new credit card, right? And not have to pay any sort of interest as long as you're not missing payments, the monthly payments on it, okay? Now, I think that could be beneficial for you if you can move it over and be able to actually pay down the debt during that time, right? The issue that people get into whenever they use this technique is they move one balance over from one credit card to another, to this new card that they got that's not charging them interest, and then they use the old card and keep running payments through it, or keep charging, frivolous things on that card. In that situation, you just dig yourself a deeper hole, right? So you want to make sure that if you're moving a balance over, you're moving it over with the intention of to be paying it off as fast as you can, to make sure that you're paying it off before that promotion ends. Okay. Now, typically, whenever you do balance transfers, they will charge you a small fee, but to me, it's peanuts compared to what you would be paying if you just continue to continue to pay the interest, right? Because typically, like I said before, like the interest, the lowest I've seen it on cars are around 14%. Maybe you've seen it a little lower, but at the end of the day, whenever you're doing a balance transfer, if you do a balance transfer where they charge you 3% or 5% even, right, it's still gonna make sense, right, from a mathematical standpoint, okay? So that's kind of how you wanna look at it. But again, one thing that's key, guys, is you want to make sure that you don't miss any payments. Do not miss any payments. Typically, in the terms of service or in the contract that you sign when you get this card, they're going to say something like, if you miss one payment on that card, it doesn't matter if you meant to do it or if it was just an accident or life happened, whatever it is. The second you miss that payment, boom, they'll have some stipulation where they can start charging you interest immediately. Some of them can even say something where they'll revert back and charge you the interest for the entire time that you've had the debt, or that you've moved that the balance over to that card, right? It could be crazy things like that. So you always want to be careful and make sure that you're not missing any sort of payments, okay? So, and you're not having any return payments as well. It's where they try to pull the money out of your bank account, and then you get the insufficient funds, and so they have to return the payment. Things like that is what can end up costing you. So you want to make sure that you avoid that. Now, the third option is going to be getting a consolidation loan. Okay. Now you can typically consolidate your credit card debt, right? And normally this works with personal loans, right? You just get personal loan that is enough to cover all the debt that you have on a credit card. The benefit of it being that once you do that, you're able to pay at a way lower interest rate, right? A personal loan might charge you, let's say it charged you even 9% or 10%. That's still gonna be a lot less than a credit card if you have a credit card that charges you 25% or 20%, right? So you're able to get a lower interest rate, and you're able, especially if you have credit card debt across multiple different credit cards, you're able to consolidate it into one monthly payment that you're making, and from there be able to just kind of tackle that one debt instead of focusing on all these different credit card payments that you have to make. Okay, so I think consolidating is a great third option. One thing I will tell you is you want to be careful with these as well, right? You want to make sure that you don't use consolidate all your credit card debt, and then you still run up your credit cards with even more debt, right? Kind of same scenario with the balance transfers. And I've seen people do this where you just end up running and adding more transactions. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you're not, you're not using your credit cards again for anything unless it's something that can produce you income or something that you can pay off immediately. Now, I'll typically run higher priced. If I'm trying to buy something that's a lot higher priced, I'll run it through my credit cards. That way I can just pay it off immediately and get the rewards points on it. Because that can translate to you getting free flights, you getting free hotels, things like that. Then that's where it can be beneficial. But I always try to be careful that I don't spend more on those credit cards than I can actually pay off, right? And that's the little caveat that you have to be careful with. Okay, so that's going to be pretty much the three main techniques that I think that majority of people should take a look at. That should at least give you an idea of what you can do whenever it comes to avoiding having to pay interest on your credit cards. Okay, so if you found that information valuable, be sure you hit the like button on this video. Also, make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my future videos. And link down below is going to be even more videos related to improving your credit, and even business credit videos that I have shot as well if you're looking to build a business. Okay, so go ahead and check out those videos, and that's going to be it for this video, and I will see you at the next one. Peace.